So I'm a three-time Trump voter in the greater Nashville area, and I feel like this is a good litmus test. If you're not like head scratching, like how in the world did this happen? I don't think you're honest about observing what's happening. So I think that there has to be like a standard, as you said, and a way to help people have faith that there's some kind of moderate accountability in general. So, um, yeah, there's of course the people on X that are, finding ways to make excuses for it, but I just think it's crazy. So, it's
Christian,
hard.
yeah, go
Oh,
ahead,
go
keep
ahead.
going. But thank you for saying that, but keep going.
Yeah, it's hard because as somebody who is obviously not a big Hillary Clinton fan, um, there's a lot of excuse making and tens of thousands of emails destroying evidence. So it's a little apples to oranges, but we need a standard. So I appreciate your effort in the
All right.
discourse in this
Christian,
platform for
thank
that.
you for that. Before Beverly and Brian respond to what you said, how do you feel about that clip we showed of President Trump for saying he didn't know anything about this?
I think that he was more than likely lying, and he probably knows about it, probably doesn't want to talk about it, is calculating what his response is going to be.
What
And
if he asked you what his response would be, what would you tell him to do?
I would tell him that it's inexcusable and that we need to get to the bottom of who put the reporter in the chat. Um, I don't think it's the sort of thing where you're going to fire 20 people. Um, but I think somebody should face real accountability and think it would be uh, a good signal to everybody that there's a standard.
No pun intended. Brian, comment about what Christian said or question for him. Up to you.
Yeah, I agree with him. I think it's a very reasonable place for, a three-time Trump voter to come from. That you've got to realize that there has to be some responsibility and accountability here. I think that's really important for our national security. If you think you want to make America great again, that was not a big move on the national security stage to send that message. And so I agree with Christian. I think that got to get to the bottom of it. They need to look like that they're having some accountability and also some process or things put in place that are actually things process they can follow. Aspects of that they clearly lay out some type of internal policy related to communications, something that should be done like that, because everybody else talks about all of these other things that are more secure or less secure. And I think we need to get to that point too. But I agree with Christian. I mean, I think there just needs to be a little bit of a look at this. And I don't think that you can brush over it and be so passe about something of this magnitude happening in our country. And, what was interesting was, Mark, the playbook that President Trump used at the podium, which he always does. And so I would ask any of those Trump guests that we have tonight to think about this. Rather than look at the facts and rather than look at what had actually happened today or beyond today, before today, what actually happened here. Okay. But the first thing out of Trump's mouth was to be able to take down the Atlantic. See, the first
Yep.
thing you do is you take it out. Remember that old Tylenol, Advil fight? You take the brand down first, and then you address the question. And that's exactly what he did today. Was he took the brand down first? In Atlantic Magazine going out of business, or whatever, to be able to say that and not be able to talk about something that's so vitally important to our national security. So, wow, that is the standard of which we're to judge this incident. I think people really need to take a hard look at that, and there's no bias in our national security. By the way, it's not Democratic or Republican. It's American, and we need to think about it that way.
Amen. Beverly,
Yeah.
comment or question for
Well,
Christian, if
Yeah,
you wish.
I just want to thank Christian for his comment. I agree with you. And one of the things I've been saying to Trump supporters, to Republicans in general, is that it is okay to critique things that need to be critiqued, and not just because it's the right thing to do. But I also find with this president, with Trump, he does almost put the fleece out there and see where people are on certain issues, and he listens. I've seen when people start pushing back on certain issues, he changes course. He reads public opinions, he reads polls, he wants to know how this is going to be perceived. So I do think if enough people speak out and say, hey, look, we support your administration, we support the Secretary of Defense, this isn't the way to handle national security, I think he would take that in. And I'm probably one of the outliers in thinking that he was not read in fully on the situation. And the reason I say that is he asked the reporter additional questions. Who are you talking about? What situation? Oh, the Houthis. They're when he if somebody is lying, they usually just jump right into the talking point that's developed to say, oh, I have no idea about that, and move on as quickly as possible. I actually think since he asked some follow-up questions to make sure he understood what this reporter was talking about, that it was the first time he had heard it. And that goes back to what you were saying, Mark. If that's true, I think it's concerning, especially since Susie Wiles was in on that call, that she didn't read him in as chief of staff prior to speaking to the press that day.
Beverly, I say with respect, you need to follow Donald Trump's lying patterns more closely. He asks those questions that, theatrically. I think maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. But I think it's inconceivable to me that he wouldn't have known about it. He's obsessed with the media, and this is a huge media story. So we'll see. But I bet he knew.